Auto exposure. Lady. And what was your name, sir?
I'm Nicholas.
Nicholas, I'm David.
David.
Do you mind if I record you?
Sure.
Cool. All right, Nicholas, so you saw David standing here, born yesterday, doesn't know anything. What's something you think what's something you wish he understood about the world that we can try to figure out together?
Just about the world?
Or anything. What came to your mind? Why'd you come back?
Oh, well, I like exploring ideas.
Yeah.
And getting to know people.
Sure.
And I think it's a great example for our next generation to talk to one another.
Yeah.
And to be okay to disagree. Because we're not all clones of each other, so
sure,
we're always going to have differences, and those differences shouldn't tear us apart as a society.
Why do you think people think that differences should cause wedges, that you should separate from people with differences?
I think people feel that way because they hold their views too close to their heart. It's like, I think that they think their views are who they are. Who they are instead of just what I think they are. Ideas that may fit into the moment.
Yeah.
Ideas that may have helped them survive up to that point. But that's not who they are. I think they're way beyond any of those types of bullet point concepts of what we feel. That makes sense. Because if I say that I believe in a controversial thing, like I believe in abortion.
Sure.
Right. And then that's who I am. And if that's who I am, then that means that no matter what the argument is for not having an abortion,
yeah,
or understanding why someone might be for it, I would think, well, because I feel this way, this is who I am. So if you're different from me, then it's like an attack on my identity. It's who I am. But I don't think you are your ideas. I think those ideas are helping you, but they're not necessarily helping others, and they don't necessarily help you into the future.
If we're not our ideas, then what are we?
We are. It's kind of like I know what we're not.
Yeah.
I believe in God.
Yeah.
And I think that God created us, and what that means is that we exist.
Yeah.
And that's good. And I think that if we're try to hold to the truth.
Yeah.
Hold to what promotes life.
Yeah.
Promotes community. I think that will guide us in the right direction.
If you didn't believe that, how do you think your life would be different?
Well, I think we have to worship something. And so if I don't worship the principles of living for an idea of goodness that's beyond myself,
yeah,
I think that there's a chance that I would start to worship whoever I was, and that would make me feel bitter towards those who were different.
If David, so this is today David, he was born yesterday.
Yeah.
He's fully grown somehow, and he understands language. I don't get it, but it's how it works. He doesn't have a person he was yesterday. He doesn't know who God is. He doesn't know anything. How would he come to the same conclusion? Like, what would lead him to think that is what he should do, and and maybe define what you mean by worship.
Yeah.
It's not easy to play as a flower.
You know, I hear a lot of times people are like, well, you know, God speaks to all of us. You have to listen, and it's so abstract, it's so subjective. I don't really buy that. But I do think that if he were to, speak the truth, the way he saw it, you know, be honest with himself and be honest with others.
Yeah.
Listen to people, and try to understand them.
Yeah.
Instead of deciphering whether or not he agrees with it. Because there are certain things that he has. He has the ability to reason. He has the ability to feel awe.
Yeah.
He has the ability to connect with others. And so I think he should stand up for himself, make sure that he's not exploited, that he doesn't allow himself to be taken advantage of. And yet try to balance the idea of being there for others, and not necessarily for personal gain. So it's a weird balancing act.
Yeah.
And I think that if he held true to those principles of honesty, of justice and courage, and allowing people to make their own decisions, I think that would point in the right direction.
Let's say David meets another person 2 minutes from now who says the opposite, that you should, David, you get one life or whatever, you get one chance, do whatever you need to do to get by. Honesty is only as good as it needs to be, and they give a different reasoning and like a different map for how he should understand the world. How can he know how to differentiate the value of what you're saying versus what they're saying?
Well, it'd be hard, I think, to kind of be ethical about the advice that I'm about to give, but the only way that I learn is through experience. And I used to lie a lot. I used to cheat. I used to steal. I used to hate people that were different than me. And I was extremely loyal to my friends. And it was our view or the other view.
Yeah.
And I stayed true to that as much as I could.
Yeah.
And I felt after a while it was eating at me. And it kind of turned on me too. And it was because there ended up being a few situations that were interpreted poorly on me, and that aggression was pivoted. And I realized that what was it pivoting around? It wasn't pivoting around a central altruistic value system. It was pointed around, I think it was more subjective. So what I would advise him to do is, if you are convinced of the argument, then go out there and live your life like that is true. Like, it doesn't matter if you tell the truth. It doesn't ever catch up to you. It doesn't matter who you exploit. I think that living that life will speak for itself.
And I don't know, this is not like anything to do with it. Like if your child, would you give them that advice? Would you say that to understand how to live a life, to live the best life, you should just go and try being these things that you're saying are not useful, and see how the consequences go?
Yes, I would. However,
I guess I'm sorry to cut you off. I guess I'm just asking is there a way that David here can skip having to try it and be burned,
right,
to understand it, to come to the same conclusion?
I want my child to go down that path.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm involved in my child's life.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any role models. I didn't have a dad.
Yeah.
I didn't have anyone to base moral behavior off of. I based it off of what I saw.
Yeah.
And that was, hey, you do what you need to do to get ahead, and that's what's important.
Yeah.
So that short-sightedness didn't really take me into a great place. And so by being an example for my child, I hope that I help guide him.
Sure.
And he has to make less of those mistakes. There's some things you have to experience.
Sure.
And so,
The same for my children. Just
and if it's hard if it's a stranger.
Yeah.
And say, bye, I'll never see you again.
Yeah.
It's obviously it's not a very practical.
It's tough.
real
It's
life
tough. Yeah.
situation. Yeah, but it's under those circumstances, I would say I would just have to say maybe observe others, be in your community.
Yeah.
Like get to know people.
Yeah.
That might help. Living vicariously through others and seeing who you connect with.
Yeah.
But I do believe that we are born with an innate sense of and desire for love and connection and long-term gain. We just have to kind of wean it out of us at times.
I like it. So, based on your conversation here with David, today David and myself, do you feel as though you feel as though he's going to walk away? How do you think he's going to walk away from this conversation?
Well, I would ask him to really think about his priorities in life.
Yeah.
And his goals, and circulate back to how that's affecting him.
Yeah.
And allowing his perseverance towards those goals to really shift, depending on the feedback that he's getting and his underlying values. And so I think that's good advice, obviously. Yeah. I think that at least those ideas, since I do believe those are true ideas, those are good ideas, that he would walk away with the potential to change his life for the better.
Yeah, I like it. You have any questions for me or anything like that, or?
Is it really your goal to just talk to people, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's a small percentage of me that wants to get YouTube famous, but at the same time, like I don't want to do hit pieces. I don't want to get there by slapsticking people. Like what I want to do is I've known lots of people in different camps in life, and I want them to be able to communicate with each other better. I want to, like I said, I'm kind of optimistic that if you can arrange the words in the right way, maybe we can figure out how to move things forward. And that's not necessarily like a posit on like one stance or the other across the board. And it's not just to say we should meet in the middle, but it's I think I'm hoping for clarity for people to, because I love what you were saying earlier about how it's an identity thing. That whenever, most of the time when people are talking about things, that like if you question it, you question their identity, you question their morality. Every conversation you have about people's beliefs is an ethical conversation, because they believe what they believe because they think it's good to believe it, and to say that they're wrong on it, they might be saying they're a bad person. And I don't necessarily think that's the case for all beliefs. I'm sure there are some that believe that you're pretty bad, but
yeah.
And so I'm trying to have these kind of conversations in a neutral way to get more interaction with the actual ideas, as opposed to it being like a win-lose situation, as opposed to like, because that's kind of my theory on things, is that most people don't want to wrestle with ideas because they might lose points or credibility, or might sometimes questioning is seen as dissent. And I want to find a way that we can interact with these ideas that is more useful.
Yeah, I think listening to one's emotional responses to others and to ourselves. If we really listen to that instead of just reacting, I think it will teach us. Yeah. It teaches us about ourselves. Yeah. And teach how we can get a habit. It's hard.
Absolutely.